ingenue. Man, I almost want to shoot Prime for this.
As most of you already know, I really enjoy using the DZOFILM Arles Primes for a multitude of reasons. And recently, I got to use them again on one of our most recent productions in Charlotte, North Carolina, on a B cam and C cam. And while in the middle of pre-production, DZOFILM reached out again and asked my thoughts on whether or not the Catta zooms can be used alongside the Arles Primes, and more specifically, the 18-35 Catta zoom. Now, DZOFILM is sponsoring this video and they provided the 18-35 on loan, but don't get it twisted, I'm still going to tell it like it is. So let's get into it. The study crew and I were hired to create these testimonial vignettes for a health company. Niles and Taylor mainly directed, I was the lead DP and Caleb was my second op. Our main A and B cameras were the Alexa Mini LFs with my favorite zoom lenses, the Ingenue EZ 22-60 and the 45-135. The C camera was the Blackmagic 6K full frame paired with the Arles and the Catta zooms when appropriate. Now, the first location was a grocery store. We had several cart shots in mind and some high angle frames as well. So I kept those shots strictly to the 6K full frame, stripped down and paired with the Arles 21mm. And what a beautiful combination that is. Just like I mentioned in my other review of the Arles, the 21 is one of my favorite focal lengths. It just gives this beautiful separation and nice fall off, and still having enough, and it's still very wide to give a lot of context, but it has the ability to single out subjects, and it's just a very versatile lens that can go seamlessly between full frame and Super 35. So that's one of my favorite focal lengths in general. And to be clear, some of this test footage is going to be more behind the scenes when it comes to the Catta zooms, though I did use the Arles for some main shots for the actual production. Since we are already using the EZ zooms, I did not feel it necessary to switch out the Catta zooms in the middle of production for the sake of this video, but I did what I could to show you some footage and how it compares in the environments that we created for the shoot in itself.
Yeah.
Now, this rig was really cool to see come together, and this is the luxury of having an amazing crew that has so much knowledge of how to just get things done very efficiently and quickly. And I say, hey, these are the angles that we want for this cart underneath so we can see both wheels. I think that worked out great. And then just a low angle so you can see a little bit of the cart as well as the talent and frame as she was kind of getting different ingredients and putting it into the basket. And lo and behold, they quickly got it together. Steve, you're awesome. Showed us the angles, made some adjustments, and then we just kept it rolling. Pun intended. Now, believe me or not, the first time this question kind of popped up in my mind was actually because of my buddy Trey. You guys have seen him on the channel before, and he's an owner of the DZO Catta zooms. I believe he has the 35-80. I actually had to fix that for him because of a little incident that happened. And he and I have been talking back and forth on these lenses for a long time, especially when I got the Arles in hand.
Your face. This is crazy, bro. Because, you know, I've been talking about these lenses since, like, last year.
Yeah, since they announced them.
We got the B set. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Nah, bro. Hey, I'm interested to see the 14.
Yeah.
Because, like I told you, like, I just started, like, falling in love with wide shots.
Yeah.
I'm, like, a medium. You know, I like to be in there.
Yeah. 21 is wide on full frame.
Oh, for sure.
Coming from Super 35 into 20,
Yeah.
I like that spot, but, like, I'm like, whoa, this is wide.
Yeah, it is.
And he was wondering himself whether or not does he need to jump ship and get the full set and just abandon the zooms, or are the Catta zooms good enough to actually mix in between the Arles, and he just has to buy probably one or two lenses like the 14-21 to go a little bit wider than that 35 that he has. And so this was actually a perfect opportunity for actually me to really dive into it, since I've already had the Arles for a while now, and then me getting my hands on the zooms. You know, it's not really that difficult to talk about lenses. There's some really standout points to kind of look for. Now, some of you might be wondering and shaking your head and rolling your eyes and saying, why in the world are we going to be comparing zoom lenses to primes? There's some obvious differences, especially when it comes to the speed. The Catta zooms are at T2.9, and the Arles open up to a fast T1.4. And yes, while that is true, again, This is not new in the space. There's always been a mixture of zooms and primes and any and all sets. So this is very typical to happen, especially if you need one particular lens for coverage, and then you're going to supplement it with primes, or you're going to go in for your, your hero shots, or this, that, and the other. It's a multitude of mixing and matching for the shot that you want and the look that you want. And so it's good to know how to compare zooms and primes together to see what you're looking for as you are growing in this space, as I am and as I'm learning, because I love optics. And so having more knowledge about optics is going to be really helpful down the line. So that being said, the faster T-stops, I will be stopping down the Arles to a T2.8 to match closer to the T2.9 that the Catta zooms are offering. And so I will make sure to label that as you're looking through this video, so it could be fair game throughout.
We are at camera prep, right?
Yeah.
I'm like looking around like, what's it called?
What's it called?
We're basically in the, once you're working with some big rigs, you want to see the cameras before, make sure they're happy, put all the pieces together, you build the puzzle, so you're not doing that necessarily. But we shoot tomorrow, so yeah, it's like getting familiar with your tools that you're going to use for the job. Every job's different depending on which camera you're going to get, which lens setup, how you're going to monitor works, rig it, talk about codecs and stuff.
I love that. I always put you on camera for this stuff. Oh, okay. It's like they're regular. That is much heavier than I thought. That's heavier than this.
Now, I've never actually held the 18-35 before, and so this is my first time seeing it in person. And I was actually quite surprised at how heavy it is in terms of weight. It was much heavier than the Angenieux EZ zooms, and it was about the same weight as the Arles Primes. Now let's just jump right into some of these comparisons. And so what I look for when doing some testing, I often test these lenses at the fastest T-stop that they can provide, just because that's a good indicator if they perform well, that the rest of the T-stops are going to perform well too once they stop down. Just a reminder too, DZO is more leaning towards a vintage look with a little bit more texture, more character, a little bit more softness. So I'm keeping that in mind because I can't compare, this to the Thenas and say which is better. They're all kind of different flavors. So the main thing I noticed with the Catta zooms is that they have an overall warmer image, a little bit more green, and they're just softer in general. Softer, I don't know if I like it or not, but they're way softer than the Arles at T2.8, and I can clearly see it. Hopefully it can kind of show itself on screen here, but I do see a clear difference between the detail and clarity at these similar T-stops. And that's how it is throughout the range from 18 to 35 on the Catta zoom. The fall off, it gets a little bit more mushy for me. It's not as a smooth fall off, a smooth rendering like the Arles are. Now when moving on to the bokeh, this is a very interesting one too, because these both have 16 bladed apertures. But one thing I noticed is that how the background renders slightly different as well. The Catta zooms have a more of an onion layer, so a hard edge and a soft center, while the Arles have a much more softer haloing, which attributes to how it, how the roll off is in the out of focus areas. So not a huge deal breaker. It's not like a hexagon versus a round circle, but there's something to still also point out.
Yeah. See my all my.
I see your redness.
My redness? What's that mean? Let me guess, by looking at your iris, you are at 3.5?
2.8. Yeah, you're around the ballpark. You didn't say wide open.
You love 2.8.
Looking at this side by side, it's pretty much like under a microscope, and this is going to be not always a situation you're going to be in, but this is good for you to kind of see what I'm seeing, because in the grand scheme of things, if you put this in a filming setting, you're probably not going to see, depending how long the takes are and you're cutting between things and you have various T-stops, you're not going to really notice the difference, in my opinion. And I think that's good to know. There is going to be some matching you have to do in post, but all that being said, you can take this, run with it, mix it in with some primes. This probably looks much more closer to the Vespids, in my opinion. The Vespids and the Catta zooms will probably be a better match. But if you have to, you need to use this, like you can, if you're skillful, you can work You can massage this to where you need it, and know some of these things that I'm calling out right now with the warmness and this, that, and the other. So I feel like I'm rambling, but that's what I see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if this was helpful in any way. And yeah, I catch you guys on the next video. See ya.